Hello, my friend. It was so nice to work with you again today. As promised, I wanted to blend the two classes together that we did last week and this week, so it wasn't two separate things and it felt like a lot that you had to work on. It's just all the moves blended into one, so do as little or as much as you'd like. And feel free to pause it at any time and hang out longer in anything that feels really good. But I think that this will be a little bit easier than reading through notes and having to put your glasses on and figuring things out as you go. So I hope you enjoy. I'm gonna step back off the yoga mat, which I do think is a really great place for you to be. Stay on your carpet or on a hardwood floor for the warm-ups, especially when we swing, so that our feet can move easily and they don't get stuck on our sticky mats. When you begin, feet are just a little bit wider than hip distance, and our knees are really soft. Let's begin with some breaths each morning, just lifting and lengthening, rising eyes to follow fingertips, and then releasing back down. Now we're soft in our knees, we're pulled in through our belly, our inner thighs, our buns a little bit, and then wrapping our ribs towards our navel. Inhale, arms rise again. And as we rise, we're remembering to keep our ribs down towards our hips. Eye gaze lifts if our neck feels good. And then releasing back down again. Just really loosey-goosey in the arms, just getting moving. Inhale, arms rise. This is called extended mountain pose. Exhale, release back down into mountain pose. And then today we worked on our standing cat-cows. So we're gonna generate some energy to push forward, rounding into our bellies, chin tucks to chest, pressing forward, opening shoulder blades, and allowing everything to get really long. Pulling back into cow. Pressing navel forward. Top of head and tailbone flick backwards very slowly, and we open up the chest. I'm gonna show you that one from the side too. Pressing out and rounding our upper backs into cat pose, like an angry cat, tucking our chin and getting really round, and then pulling back and heading in the opposite direction. Chest rises. Belly comes forward, lifting up and out of the low back as we pull our elbows back, opening our throat to the sky. Probably 2 more rounds of this. This will really wake up our shoulder blades and our chest, working from top to bottom, opening into our back. And this is a great practice for any time. It doesn't have to be first thing in the morning like we work on it. That's a really nice time just because there's not a lot of muscle memory. Everything is really fresh and ready with a beginner's mind, no resistance that we've encountered from sitting all day. Inhale, arms rise. I always like this to clear. And then exhale, arms fall. Now here's the one where we're going to get really soft in our knees, and we're going to do our Tai Chi Inspired Twists. So lifting up through one heel and just spinning around, and don't even worry about the arms in the beginning. Let's pretend that they're just ragdoll arms. Everything is generated from the core, so our belly is twisting us, and if the arms happen to swing out and wide, they do. And if the arms don't swing and we just kind of move freely through our mid-back, our belly, and into our low backs, that's great. This movement is really soft and easy. Nothing is being forced. Any breaths that feel really good for you. And if you want to challenge your balance, you can close your eyes and try to swing around a little bit. And if you feel great, especially if you do this after a big day, then you can get really big in your swings and your arms. Just feels so fun and freeing. Eye gaze wants to stay low, following our fingertips. This lengthens and relaxes our neck. And remember that we're pivoting, allowing the full knee and hip to twist in. As many of these as you love to do. They're just so fun. Breathe in for 2. And out for 2. And let's clear that. Stepping back in, we may have gotten a little wide. Arms lift up high. And then today we worked on our halfway folds, bringing our hands down with really bent knees, usually to the thighs to begin. From the halfway forward fold, we started some cat-cows. So remembering that we arch up into angry cat on an exhalation. And if the in-breath more naturally came first, press belly down, top of head and tail rise. During the inhalation, we're going to try to really broaden our chest by pulling our shoulders back and down. Showing you from the side again. Hopefully you can see my back. Arching up into angry cat. Just allow your legs to move freely. They may want to rise a little bit. And then we may push our butt back as the tailbone rises here to come into our cows. Not forcing anything, hands are just resting, doing all this work from the core and from the belly. Now remember, we never have to stay moving. We can pause, we can find stillness. If I found something really tight in my cat, I may want to stay here, rock and roll a little bit. And then find the fullest expression of it for you in that moment. Coming back down. Now, same is true. If I find something really interesting in my cow, and I think I need to wag my tail a little bit, or even just twist to one side, wherever we feel we need movement, move into it. Just whatever your body asks you to do. Let's try one more little round of our halfway folded cows and cats. And then one more time, rise. Now we're adding on those lateral stretches that we've worked on in lots of different positions. So I'm in extended mountain pose, if you can see me, arms overhead. Soften my knees, as wide of a stance as feels really strong in your foundation. Tip over to the right side. And as you do, grab onto your left wrist, lift again, lengthen over to the right side, and then maybe take a peek down. So this feels really good up under my shoulder blade. But if I take my eyes down, I start to move it down towards my left mid-back, and if I pull my arm on the diagonal, I start to move down into my left low back. Feeling free again to pause in stillness or just to move side to side here. Not forgetting about our breath. Oftentimes when we find tight spots, we hold our breath. Audible breath, really nice. Breathing in and out of our nose will calm the nervous system. So if we need a moment, just keep the lips shut and breathe in and out of your nose. And then a big in-breath and an exhalation to rise. Always exhale when you're working really hard. So here, blow us back to the top. Feel free if the shoulders get tired to release. Rise again. And when you're ready, lift and lengthen, and then tip over to the left side. We have soft knees here. Lifting from both sides, even my crunchy side, as long as I can make it. Left hand, holding on to right wrist, will help us pull over. Thinking about where we want to take this. More to the side, diagonal. Where does our neck and eye gaze want to go? And then do we want movement? If you get really warm and toasty, depending on where you are in your house, an open mouth exhalation will help you release heat. Moving just a few more times. Don't worry about counting how long you're in each pose. Just do what feels really good for your body. We're never going to be completely balanced and symmetrical. So if a side needs a little extra TLC, feel free to take it. Inhale, arms rise, and then release back into mountain pose. And anytime we need it, just take a break. Maybe we just take a little shake in our bodies, shake things around, bend and move as needed. We're going to come on down to the floor, to tabletop. All right, I'm finding my mat. I just wanted to show you a side view of things. You are great in your alignment, so you really don't need a lot of help with this, but I'll just give you the reminders. Hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, tops of feet flat for tabletop. And we started the first week together with pointers. So let's take the right toes on back, flexing through the foot and really pushing your heel out long. And just breathing to lengthen through your right side. Your left arm is lifting up all the way overhead with our thumbs rotating up towards the sky. Externally rotating shoulder up, out, and down. When you're ready, lift off through your right toes. And this is going to be really wobbly, so the littlest bit of lift is a great success. If eventually we can get long from fingertips towards heel, that's great. If your right hip starts to open, we went a little too far. Land the hand, reset so you're square, your pinky toe is square towards the floor, and try extending again. Even the top of your head is going to push away from your tailbone. One more big breath in here. Exhale, rounding, crunching in as tight as you possibly can, like an angry cat with a balance challenge. So crunch on in here, and then release everything back down. Anytime we need a wiggle or a sway, if this arm that was doing all the work gets tight, shake it out. And whenever you're ready, we'll switch sides. Left toes tuck back. We're off the tips of our toes and we're on the balls of our feet. And then making sure our neck is always free and shakeable. Just push. Get a great bottom of foot stretch here. Really pushing out through the heel. Bouncing, movement, anytime we need it, go ahead and go for it. Most importantly here, navel draws in. We never worry about where the flesh is actually hanging or our skin. We worry about the muscle engagement, really pulling in to support our low backs. When you're ready, right arm reaches forward, our thumb rotates up, tucking our chin so there's no wrinkles in the backs of our necks, and elevate left toes when you're ready. When we breathe in here, think about counterbalancing, shoulder towards opposite hip, pulling and linking our midsection together as we lengthen and strengthen, building up our balance and our stamina. Lots of big breaths in here. One more big breath in. Eyes are down as if we have a mirror under our nose and our breath could fog it up. That keeps our neck really long. Belly's in for this last inhalation. And on your exhalation, a big cat crunch, curling in, elbow towards knee, maybe elbow to belly and nose to knee, really pushing up through that grounded hand. And then release right back down. Anything you need, the left arm that just did a lot of work, shake that out. And when you're ready, coming into tabletop cat-cows. But if we need a break and we just want to sit back and pause, remember what we talked about today? Release, release, release. So if my shoulders and my wrists felt really stiff from that work, I just think release, release, release. Whenever I'm ready, I come back to work. Tabletop cat-cow, realigning all the joints. And we press up, exhaling into angry cat, tucking our chins, really boosting up so the shoulder blades spread really wide and the pectoral muscles, the chest muscles squeeze together. When you're ready, rolling like liquid through your spine, pull shoulders back, lift up into cow pose, top of head and tail. Any breath that works for you. It can be really, really long and slow, or if the spirit moves you, move a little faster. Always opening on the in-breath, expanding on the in-breath, and closing belly on the out-breath. Maximum inspiration on the in-breath. Even sipping a little more at the top. Maximum expiration on the out-breath. And remembering, if it feels so good in one spot that you're just like, I'm going to hang on, breathe a little extra, maybe wiggle my tail, a little bit of side crunches. Cool. Do whatever feels really good. Exhale, same thing here. We can press out through one set of ribs, press out through the other set of ribs, or we can just keep it really plain vanilla the whole time. And after one more round like that, moving as your body feels good, maybe deepening by pulling an extra vertebrae up high, maybe deepening by pushing tailbone or top of head a little longer. Or finding neutral. Take a moment if you need it, just readjust, check in, threading the needle. Left arm rises high, or just out to the side. Out to the side is great. If we're feeling really good, high up to the sky, eyes may follow. And then as we thread the needle, we have options with props here. Turn palm down, walk fingertips out like a spider, and then this hand gets kind of jammed up. Now if I don't need props, I don't use them. But if I need props, you always have your blocks, a pillow or a blanket or a towel nearby, and our strap we'll use for later. As we sink down into our thread the needle, buns can stay high. If they want to pull back, let them pull back. Adjust so that you have a little thing to rest on, whatever you're using, for your head. And then if your right arm gets really tough near your face, you feel like it's restricting you, feel free to just move it somewhere or wrap it all the way around your low back. And as you do this, if this is your option today, press, actively press your forearm into your low back. You get a little low back pressure, massage, maybe love, and you also release all down into your shoulder here. And then ease on back and just relax. As gravity takes over, we may notice that our belly gets a little heavier, our hips sink back lower, and our shoulder may be able to scoot out a little bit more. And whenever you're ready, slowly making our way out as gently as we came in. Top arm definitely wants to find its way down first, however that feels natural. Path of least resistance, moving from one pose to the next. So once we get it down, we're going to use it to support us. Draw our arm back out, and then it's really nice to come out the way we came in. So we'll send our arm out or up. Feel free to let the hips be loose here. Just open and release. Trying the same thing on the other side. Right arm is rising high, inhale, or just to the side. Exhale when you're ready, and then we have to make adjustments because the body's different on both sides. So however we want to come down, palm is up in the beginning, and then once you scoot it out, flip it down and start to wiggle your fingers like spiders all the way out wide so we can rest our right ear or temple on the block, the mat, the pillow, whatever feels great. And then let's see about our left arm. Do we want to keep it where it is? Extend it out, wrap it around. Remember that while you're here, you stay where you are if you found your twisted child's pose. While we're here, if our belly feels unsupported, we can use our blankets or our pillows to put this right under our belly in child's pose. This is a great massage for the digestive system. It really gives the internal organs a little hug. So it's nice to do this, and also it gives us less work in the lower back because we're being propped up and supported wherever we need it. So even if we're just resting in child's pose, not twisting, we can use a blanket, a rolled up like lumbar support pillow, a sweater like I'm using, whatever works. I think you've been here for a bit, so maybe take in one more big breath. Release the left arm from your low back if it was there, and then use it for a little guidance. Coming back up to tabletop. Lose the blanket if you don't need it, but I really just want you to move your block or whatever you are resting your head on so we can find child's pose. So I don't love this under my belly for child's pose all the time. I'm going to put that off to the side. Extended child's pose. Doesn't matter where your hips are today. Doesn't matter where your hips were yesterday. Wherever they feel great in this moment, just honor your body and respect that. Let them pull back if they want to. Maybe you stay for a bit and you ease on back. If you feel like you've gotten your knees too close, feel free to widen up. There's no right or wrong way to move. When we're listening to our body, we just do whatever feels best. Wide is going to be a lot harder on your back because you can see how low I'm getting in a wide child's pose. So if we're feeling particularly tight and cranky today, we're going to bring our knees really close so we can rest our belly right on our thighs. Reaching out into extended child's pose. Here we have that option of putting our foreheads down, and you can literally roll side to side like you're smoothing out your forehead, massaging what we refer to as our third eye. Just a really great way to keep ourselves mindful. And if that gets old, pause and release. Just relax. If shoulders need a break, they can wrap down around our low backs. They can come behind the back if we want to do that little push to release the shoulder tension. They can completely relax in full child's pose at our sides. And being mindful that our chest and belly are resting on something, so it makes it really hard to breathe in deep. And as we become aware of that, we'll consciously take some deeper breaths. Might notice our back inflating. That's good. Breathe into the areas that are tense in the low back. When you're feeling ready to move on, we're going to try to find our grip on our heels, finding hare pose. Hare pose is like a little ball that we want to roll into. We lift off of our forehead, lifting our buns off the heels, and we start to roll forward towards the top of our head. Now we really want to get on the very, very top of our head. And from here, I start to actively pull my hips up towards my shoulder while maintaining this strong grip on my heels. If I can't get a hold of my heels, I can hold my ankles, something to hold me back a bit to cause resistance so I can traction my body upper half away from lower half, rounding into the upper back as we pull and lengthen into the lower back. Hare pose. This is a big one to breathe into. It's so big in our low backs. Try to envision that your lungs are all the way into your low back, and you're gonna breathe deep down into that area, nourishing it with every in-breath, allowing your out-breath to take tension, tightness, and stress away. Remembering to come just the way we came in. So relax on back in your time, and your head gets a little crunched up, right? So bring hands near your head and just come back out into a child's pose. But this time, as you extend your arms overhead, let's lift our eyes a little bit forward, shift our hips up, and we're taking both hands over to the left side as we let our hips fall over to the right side. Now this may be enough. I like to create a little space in my elbows so that my head can drop down. Remember that if we lower our upper body, we enhance the lower body stretch. So we're getting deeper here. Might be a great place to pause, or to add on, right hand comes over top the left, and we can just kind of interlace our fingers, create that little window in between your elbows again, sink upper body down, and pull your right hip away from the left side. Big deep breaths through the intensity of the lengthening and the stretch. Back to center when you feel ready, and you just kind of glide on through, getting right on over here towards the right side. Both hands can reach, hips come out to the left. Creating a little window in between our elbows, drop the head. Stay if that feels great, or clasp left hand on top of right. Release the head. Lengthen hips away from shoulders. Tailbone away from crown of head. And then try to fill up your belly and your chest, especially filling up your left side that's getting this beautiful stretch. Now, if you know downward facing dog is the toughest part of your practice right now, we can always put it off till the very end when we're really stretched out. Let's come to the back. But I'll offer it here since we're really set up well for it. Now, excuse me, today to warm up, we also did our tabletop cat-cows on our forearms. So this is a great moment to visit those. Let's make sure that we have really good alignment. Elbows now are under our shoulders. Wrists are in front of our shoulders, and our fingers are spread wide, making sure they're not really turned out, that our wrist creases are parallel to the front of our mats. You're welcome to tuck toes, or keep your tops of feet flat. Tucking toes gives you a wonderful bottom of foot stretch. From here, whatever breath feels natural, but I really like to start with an exhalation, emptying so you can refill even bigger. Let's try when we're ready. Exhaling, and remember, our flesh can hang over the waistband. As long as our muscles are pulled in tight from the belly, zip tied up the spine, we're safe to move. Go as big as you can or as little as it feels good. Nothing matters aside from how you feel. Inhale, opening the belly, tailbone, and top of head rise. Pulling shoulders down, and always think about creating space. Pulling shoulders apart to open in the collarbones. When you're ready to exhale, try again. Inhale. Working on making this smooth. If we feel tight, it may feel really jerky, and that's okay. Noticing it. Observing it, not judging it, just noticing and thinking, okay, next time I'm gonna try to even that out a little bit. We never have to commit to anything for the whole time. So if your feet get tired, uncrunch your toes. Just allow everything to be wiggly and free in your face and your fingers and your toes for a moment. And then when you're ready, coming back up to hands, neutralize your spine, but prepare yourself for movement really gracefully. Coming back up to our tabletop, and we're gonna do a bent knee downward facing dog. I hope you can see my butt in the picture. I didn't realize that I was probably a little close. Oh, you got me, okay. So when you come from tabletop, press hands down, widen, and always make sure you're pressing through your base of thumb, knuckle, and base of index finger knuckle. Those big knuckles are important to work the wrists all the way left to right and to keep your foundation really stable. They're like our feet in our downward facing dog, so we want a strong foundation. Soften the elbows as we rise, tuck all 10 toes, And then with bent knees, we're gonna find our landing, but we wanna think about pushing our hips up, 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 and then send the hip bones back. We're not straightening the legs. When we send the hip bones back, head may pull through elbows, let your head hang, and you can go so far as to look up towards your navel. Introspection, just kind of glancing inside for a moment. Let your neck hang, it should be shakeable. And then start to lift your tailbone a little bit further up, feeling more sensation in the hamstrings, stamping feet down and acting as if we're gonna split our mat in between our big toes. Push down and out. Now we don't see the move, it's an isometric move, it's a muscle move. Push down, push out like you could split your mat. Feel your backside open. Still pushing through the index finger knuckle and the base of big thumb, wrapping shoulder blades around towards my chest, pulling my biceps a little bit forward. It's called spiraling the arms down. Anytime you need a break here, you take it really big on the ankles too. And then we're just gonna take a little rest. Now feel free if you wanna rest in tabletop, that's cool. Child's pose, an option. We can always just sit back too. And if we need some support sitting back, our blanket on our heels, our block under our buns, all of those options are available to us. Maybe take a little glance inward, just checking in to see how we feel, where we're feeling buzzing. A lot of work on the wrists and hands can cause some energy flow, so that's always nice to notice and be thankful for. When you're ready, adding on to our downward facing dog, coming back towards our tabletop, spreading fingers wide, finding the two important knuckles, wrist creases forward, maybe a tad bit turned out if your wrists are bothering you. Tuck toes. As we start to lift our knees, we're gonna take our hips and push back, back, back for length. With our bent knees, we rise hips to sky, still bent knees. Think about pushing the tailbone back and up. Sits bones, the bones inside our buns, back. Spread them wide by stamping our feet. Pushing our toes apart. Slide chest back towards thighs. Feel free to tuck chin, eyes up towards belly. And then we're gonna lift our heels. Now we're not on our toes here. We're really still on the balls of our feet. Toes may tap down, but I don't want a lot of weight in them because we'll get crampy. Let your heels rest. Try this for 4. Lift your heels. All that beautiful length. You're making your way closer to a straight-legged down dog. Press, press, press to lift the heels. Trying to keep our upper body pretty darn still here. We're just lifting and lowering through the heels. In breath, out breath, whatever works. Down towards the knees, really slowly transitioning, even when we find the floor, really slowly transitioning. Now the first day we worked on a tree. So I want to kind of show you from the front and the side. Easy down, whatever feels good. Take a break for the hands. We first tried to sit with our legs really straight out, and that just kind of felt uncomfortable. Now a couple options. We could, if we want to get here, prop ourselves up on a block. It would come right under the buns. This may feel more doable. If our knees bother us, pillows under the knees, or a blanket or two, or a towel under your knees for support. If this still isn't feeling good, now what we changed it to the first day was a seated tree pose. So we took our knee and we hugged it in, and then we brought it in here towards the opposite leg. Feel free to just hold, lift belly towards thigh. Lift up as tall as we can through top of head. Relax shoulders, holding tight through our hands and our biceps, not our shoulders towards our ears. And just lengthen. Ultimately, if we feel good, this would become a seated tree where our leg falls out to the side. We lift, we can twist, or we can begin to forward fold here. And we'll build on. We'll add on to that in our practice. But the only thing we've practiced together in this position was this beautiful hug. Building up lots of strength in our core to keep our low back lifted and long here. So it's a really great place to really stretch out. And then before we go anywhere, it's really nice just to kind of cleanse out from a long hold stretch. Bringing hands behind for our windshield wipers, and I'll show you from the front. We want to take our feet as wide as our mat if you're still long ways on your mat. Hands are behind with fingertips pointing towards our toes, and we just kind of swish. Now when we swish, we want to make sure that our chest is lifted, our belly pointed towards our knees. I'll show you from the side. So we have a long low back, and this is keeping ourselves safe. Lift it up, soften the elbows, soften the shoulders, open the collarbones, wherever the neck feels good, and then just swishing side to side. Now I know this was really tough for us today, but we're gonna move on to the seated postures that we had some difficulty with. Just remember that little tip of our dominant leg, whatever feels the easiest and most comfortable, most natural, always comes forward first. So let's be aware of that. And if today we started with our right leg forward, let's next time you practice, start with your left leg forward. We'll finish up on our other knee hug in just a moment. From here, feeling really comfy anywhere that the legs want to be. And let's just pause for a moment, lifting up through the low belly, supporting the low spine with our navel, pulled in towards our spine, lengthening up just a little more and relaxing our shoulders. Let's inhale, arms to sky. Right arm falls, left arm lifts up. And remember that this is like a soft buoy, my right hand. Instead of being a kickstand pushing me away, it wants to just kind of float around here. Feeling free to just hold our lateral stretch, or as we did earlier, reaching forward on the diagonal. As long as your sits bones are anchored, you're free to move anywhere you want. And potentially even swinging around a little bit, but this is big for our low backs. So really smoothly, softly, purposefully moving, full of breath. Inhale, arms rise. Stay as long as you want lifted here. Left arm falls. It's a very soft little buoy. Just kind of floating around. If it feels stuck back here, bring it a little bit more forward so we have some more freedom to stretch up and over, to reach out long, and to potentially swing around. Anytime that you feel like you're in a really good spot to just soften somewhere, soften your facial muscles, maybe close your eyes, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, just find somewhere to let go. If you could see me right now, I get kind of closed off in my chest. So remember when we do these lateral stretches that today we talked about lifting up in the shoulder and rolling it back. So just watch how that changes things. If I just kind of hunker down, I lose the length in my back. I want to think about lifting up, rotating my top shoulder, and really getting a nice, beautiful twist in, but plus I get all that length when I lift and I twist. And then when you're ready, rise to sky. Use top arm to prop you up. Release down. And just pause for a second, hands to knees. Now this is where it got a little hairy. We're going to think about stirring a big pot. Moving as fluidly as we can. In any direction. We can go a bunch in one way and then switch, or one in each direction. These hands are here just to rest, not to pull us forward. We're lifting as much as we can. Belly directionally, energetically forward towards shins, chest forward towards our knees. So think about with a really neutral neck and face, our sits bones grounded and anchored in, spinning around as slowly as you want to take it. Neck long and lengthened, chin tucked a tad, and eyes just really softly following the pattern that we're creating with our body. And if you get to a spot where you encounter a lot of tension and resistance, pause. Feel free to pause there. Use your ribs. Push your ribs around a little bit. Maybe just stir a tiny half moon here. Or maybe just lean into it and feel it. Explore a little around it. See if you can pull out of that tension. Now just make sure if you went all one way that you switched, and we do about the same number of circles in the opposite direction. Whew. And then that was a lot. Now, If your ankles got tired where they are and you feel that right now it would be nice to switch before our next exercise, feel free to take any windshield wipers or anything that you need, or just simply swap sides. Hands super gentle on the knees, not pulling. We're going to use our belly for this. Finding our cat-cows one last time. Might be easiest to lift and lengthen first and then find our cow. Navel comes forward, tailbone pulls back, top of head pulls back just a little. Just feel like you're shining through your heart, your throat, your collarbones, and your shoulders. And then round and exhale. Now this is a big one. The whole back is gonna round here. And just feel the expansion. Feel the new spaces you're creating. As you breathe in here, I like to think about bringing light into all the spaces that are dark and closed. As you open them, breathe new energy in. You spend as much time as you want in each position, or you can really roll with the breath. So we're gonna breathe in to fill the belly and open into cow. Breathe out to exhale into cat. And as expressive as you wanna get, now if you're really feeling kind of crunched up with your hands here, we can roll our cat-cows with hands on the floor, on the mat, or on blocks propped up. Last one. And then path of least resistance, however it feels best for us. If we need to take a minute, we take a minute. But we're gonna try to get our legs out straight again. And we already held our right knee in, so we're taking our left knee in. And this is a tough place to be because when we pull our knee in, our back wants to round, especially into our low back. I'm gonna show you that from the side. As I get my knee in, I kind of want to sit like this. So I'm going to try to lift up. Think about navel pushing towards your thigh, chest pushing towards your knee. And without this squeeze, shoulders become earrings. We just let the shoulders hang. We hold strong in the hand, strong in the biceps, pulling body towards thigh. Ask yourself where you can soften. Right toes are able to be wiggled. Face, we can smile. We can unclench in our jaw, corners of eyes, and foreheads. And when you're done with that pose, we're gonna make our way down to the floor, belly first, and then on our back to finish up today. So just whatever's easy. If I didn't mention, I am not a pro at taking videos, and I didn't realize that if a phone call comes in, it cuts off your video, so sorry. Take two. I'm just doing the ending now. Okay, so we are going to our bellies. So however you can get there, just a super smooth transition. And so there's two ways of going about it. We can shift forward and kind of do like a little push up to get down, or we can just walk our hands forward as we walk our knees back, coming down to forearms where we've been before, and just so slow here. But when we get there, we're lying fully prone. Arms stretch all the way out overhead. Chin tucks. We actually want to lay every part of our body down, the tip of our nose, our forehead, arms all the way overhead. And then softening just to kind of puddle into the ground. And this is that great spot where we can kind of roll our buns side to side, like our hips got gooey, and just kind of roll everything around just to relax, like someone has their hand on your back and is kind of swishing you side to side. Soft, let your heels flap out. Everything is soft. Okay, so once we take up space and we get established, then we want to really energize. So we're going to tuck our chin, lengthen out the backs of our necks, point our toes and bring our big toes together. Start to inner thigh squeeze, lengthening out, toes far away from our hips. Reach the arms overhead. Coming as long as we possibly can, maybe spider walking out just a little bit more. And it gets really hot and breathy down here, so just kind of battle through that hot breath coming back in your face, but you're lengthening out the whole back body before we move on. One more big breath in, stretch, stretch, stretch. Just a nice relax. It feels really tough with this lengthening, but it feels good to stretch out before we strengthen again. When you're ready, chin stays tucked, hands come back, kind of like goalposts, but they're just gonna be right under our shoulders. And then with a long back of neck, we're gonna think about keeping our toes, knees and thighs anchored in, hip bones anchored in, lifting from the backs of our necks. Exhale to rise. That's the tough part, right? The rise. And then inhale to lower. So we're gonna experiment with a couple different breaths. This is called upper locust. So as we exhale to rise, our breath helps us with the toughest part of the lift, and then the super soft landing. Next time I want to see if we can lift high enough that our hands hover, and switch your breath. See if you can breathe in, blowing up your belly like a balloon, and see if that helps you float to sky. So let's try one more like that. So then you experiment with different ways of breathing, remembering that there's never a wrong way, and whatever feels best for you is what I want you to do. Those were upper locusts. Let's make a pillow with our hands, cross one back of hand on the other, and rest your head right on the top back of hand. Try to relax your shoulders here, just get really gooey and let go in the upper half of our bodies. So we're gonna bring our big toes together again and move on into lower locust. Right toe is gonna think about pushing out as long as possible. Can you see that lifting? Okay, cool. Push out as long as possible. I don't care if it lifts a 1/2 inch or 6 inches. Length is what matters. We're pulling tension out, lengthening through the whole back body. And then slowly tap that toe down. Left toes, lift, but push out long. Really push like you're ringing a doorbell with your big toe. We've got to lengthen and push, release. Try that again each side. Inhale. Exhale, push, really going as long as we can. Relax in your shoulders, facial muscles, hands. Last time, lift, lengthen out. Release. And take as much time as you need to, but we're gonna gather our big toes together again, like our ankles, our knees, our calves are kissing, and see if we can't lift both legs at once. We're gonna totally lift our toes, maybe even our knees and thighs. Push out really long. Should feel heavy in the hip bones, heavy in the belly, and big in the low back. Stretch, push away, and then release when you need to. Just bring your hands out to the sides so that you can totally chill out, because all that pressing into the nose and the forehead sometimes gets a little annoying. And then once again, just kind of wiggling your hips around, just loosening up everything you strengthened. And we're going to separate our feet a bit to come into that half frog. I like to have my hands out kind of wide just so you can kickstand yourself and maneuver a bit easier, feeling safe in the hips. So let's start with your right leg. So we start with the side that has a bit more mobility in this moment. Coming soon, lots of mobility in the left side. We're gonna take our knee, flex our foot, and start to pull our knee. Our foot is flexed to keep our joints safe. Pull our knee up, out, and around. It's great if it comes off the sticky mat so you can move. So the carpet or a hardwood floor is really nice. Might not feel so nice on the inner thigh, but it's more easy to move. Once you get into half frog, knee is anywhere out to the side, up as far as the hip. Your foot, your ankle is right behind your knee, and your frog toes are turned out to the side. And then we're gonna really slowly come back towards the center, squaring up our hips, maybe putting our pillow hands down or actually getting a pillow. You can totally rest on that as well. And then just envisioning the right side of our hip softening down so the pelvis melts right into the floor. And if your body is asking you to turn, it needs support, and it wants you to turn towards that bent knee, then do whatever feels best. Our bonus that we added on today was a little bit of internal rotation through the hips. So if you're ready for that, you're welcome to keep your head resting back down, or you can also bring your hands out to the sides just to give you like a little bit more balance here. We're gonna push down through the inner right kneecap and start to lift our flexed outer ankle up, rotating inwards on the hip. As we rotate inwards on the hip, we pull the outer low back muscles out and around and release back down. Lift again. Remember, height does not matter. See your ball and socket joint in the hip. See it rotate in. All that beautiful range of motion is so nice. And then lift again. Might notice you get a little bit bigger as you go on. Right about 4 seems to be a good magic number. And then if we can, we're going to hold that one for 4, 3, 2. Okay, before we get right into the other side, wherever your hands need to be, just scoot your leg back. And even if you want to kind of lift away to scoot your leg back, that's a big one. So take a second to come back to neutral. Just kind of let your hips be gooey. And crocodile pose. Let me move this sweater out of the way. Okay, crocodile pose, where we come with our feet out wide and our toes turn out. So the inner ankle comes down. Feet are wider than our yoga mat. And then just rest. So we're allowing now the hips to do the opposite of what we just did. The hips are rolling in towards the lower back. So we're bringing all the muscles in right now, feeling like a little hug on the spine. And then when you're ready for the other half of frog, let's go on and move on. Hands come back under shoulders. Whatever is the easiest way to maybe rotate to toes and then kind of tippy toe walk in, or if you just want to drag your feet in. Getting really long. I like to move slowly between poses, between postures, between our practice. So we have time to just breathe and think about how we can move with respect and love for our bodies. Flexing the left foot, bending the left knee, and at the same time you bend, we're doing that really strong outward rotation deep inside our hip socket to pull our left knee out to the side. And I'm just going to show you from another angle since you can't see me really well over there. But we're pulling our knee all the way up. Our ankle is right behind our knee. Our frog foot is flexed out to the side. And then notice how high my hip is. That's really normal. We're going to rest our head. Once we get our upper body resting, then I might be able to let my pelvis, nope, can't see the pelvis tilt, but we're going to see it in our mind. We're going to see that left side just really starting to soften. Seeing the space spread in the pelvis and the groin. Seeing the buns melt down, the hip socket become really wide and open as you breathe new energy into your hips and into your low back. When you're ready to move on to the internal rotation of the hips, hands come wherever. You don't even need to move them if it felt really good, but we're gonna think, just so you can see it, I wanna move this hand. We're gonna think about rotating left knee in, ankle lifts to any degree. Feel the internal rotation of the hip socket. Feel the low back spreading on the left side, and then release on down. Welcome to turn eye gaze and rest your head on that side. Let's try that 3 more times. Any breath that speaks to you to help you get there. Foot is flexed so that we're getting a good stretch on both sides of our ankle, both sides of our leg. And then when you're ready, release really slow. You have beautiful control when you release, so we're going to maintain all that good movement. Hands come wherever they feel really supportive. And then whatever feels easiest, I always like to stick my foot back up to really pull gently. Leg back in if we need another crocodile pose or another full prone pose. And we wiggle our hips side to side. Anything that feels natural that your body is craving after a big stretch, take it. And then we're gonna make our way towards the end of our class, finishing with what we did this week first and what we did last week second. So we're gonna rise back up, take a child's if you need it. If you're ready, have a seat long ways on your mat so we can find bridge. And then finishing with your strap within reach. We want one block close by and we want our strap close by. Now today we rolled down however felt best for us. First, we started with hands on our shins, and then we moved on to hands behind the knees, but just remember to roll down really, really, really slowly. Yes, we want to try to keep our feet flat if possible. If the feet lift, it's okay, but then we may plop, and we want to be really kind to our back as we land on it. So trying really hard to engage your core. One tiny vertebrae at a time. Once we release down, we just celebrate our success on getting down here. That is not easy. And then to begin, hands come down by your side, palms flat because we're going to use those for a second, and heels walk in, ideally so we can touch them with the tips of our fingers. Making sure heels are under knees and knees aren't poking out, but they're in line with our hip bones. And when we're ready, eyes are staying right up at the ceiling, pressing down, stamping feet and pushing palms to peel tailbone up towards the ceiling, pelvis towards nose, and start to roll the spine up from the mat, articulating, if we could, one vertebrae at a time. Low back into mid back, into upper back, and then maybe even up off of the bottom of shoulder blades. Here I want to push my heart forward towards my chin, and then tuck my chin a little bit towards my chest to lengthen out the back of my neck, and then I reverse when I'm ready. Upper back, shoulder blades melted down, a little more of the upper back, mid back. Right when you feel that you can tilt the pelvis again, tilt tailbone up to lengthen your low back so that the very last thing to melt to the earth is your tailbone. And then you can celebrate that success by taking feet wide, steepling our knees together, or we're welcome to do windshield wipers here too. And we just want to add, now you're totally cool doing as many bridges, as many rolling bridges as you want. But if you're ready for another little challenge to squeeze the block, just to integrate some inner thigh work too, put the block in between the meaty portion, not on our joints, and then let's revisit. Tickling the heels, palms flat. Now listen, if you get really good at this and it feels like you don't need the support of your hands, bring them up and overhead and roll too. But for now, we'll just keep our hands down, remembering to tuck the tailbone up a little, lengthen out your low spine, and start the lift from the very low spine, top of the low spine, mid back, moving in towards the upper back. Keep squeezing your block. Eyes stay towards the ceiling, shoulder blades, and then here I want to think about lengthening. So my tailbone is towards the backs of my knees, I'm squeezing my block. Heart is towards my chin. I really lengthened out my back and my sides, and then my chin tucks in towards my chest to lengthen the back of my neck. How slowly can you roll down when you're ready? Shoulder blades, upper back. Still going. Mid back. Ooh, getting towards the low back. Tuck the tailbone a little bit so the very last thing to lay on the earth is your tip of tailbone. Whew, that feels good. Now, whatever we need, if the block, especially the cork ones, are hard and they may not feel awesome, then feel free to let go. Let's wait to hug the knees in until we're really done. So here, just kind of giving the low back a little massage. And then when you're ready, putting our cork block back into the meaty portion where we can squeeze, revisiting that we're all aligned, joints are stacked and in line, and then we're ready to rise. So here may be a good time to do our challenge. One last little bit of fun at the very tippy top. We can roll tailbone up towards your block, pelvis towards your belly, and then start to lift up. Now you know how to articulate your spine. Slow is the name of the game. The slower we can roll, the stronger we will get. At the top it's tough, but we want to think about lengthening. Tailbone stays towards back and knees. Heart pushes towards the chin. Chin tucks the chest just a tad. Lifting through the heels before we lower on this one. Through the heels, really push through the balls of the feet. Squeeze through your block. So now we're up in the highest version of our bridge. And when we're ready to descend, our heels land first. Then we start to articulate down through the spine. Oh gosh, my favorite part is coming. I can't wait. Lift up through the tailbone. Release through the low back. Ah. And then just because we want to let go for a second, really get that block out soon. Just pause. Be proud of how liquidy and fluidly you moved your spine. And then when you're ready, if it's too big to hug both knees in, we can always just do one knee at a time, kind of like we're doing in our chair yoga at our desk. Or we can just hug both knees in. Now this may feel great in this little tiny ball, yes? You're welcome to stay there or hug your nose in towards your knees and relaxing your shoulders and just hugging in really tight. Lots of breath through this whole thing. Or we can rest our upper head, upper body, and let our knees swing side to side for a really slow, luxurious roll, like a massage over the low back. And how we finished our class last week was so nice. We used our strap. So we're going to take our feet flat again, and then just mindfully grabbing our strap. Even if we're looking for our props, remembering to move slowly through the head and neck and the eyes. Finding our strap somewhere in the middle, no big deal if it's not. Let's go for our right side first. We're going to put the strap on the bottom of our foot, and with a flexed leg, we're sending our foot to the sky. Opposite leg stays bent unless you feel like you're ready for a challenge, and then our left leg can extend down. Now, my little trick with the strap is so that we can be lazy in our arms. So once I get the strap on my foot where I like it, I bring my hands down towards the bottom. It doesn't have to be all the way. And then take a few wraps up towards your foot to the point where you feel like you're really bound in on your hands. And then you can just let your arms be like, oh, just like a sigh. Let them be a puddle down towards the mat. And you're working on flexing your toes towards your nose. We don't care how straight our knee is. We want to push our heel towards the ceiling. You're welcome to start to use your biceps and your hands to pull your toes towards your nose. Or we can just stay up at the ceiling. When you feel great, breathe, release. Just love on your body for a second. And remember that the longer you're able to stay, the more you'll see the length happening, the softening in the muscles. So we may find out that we're, whoa, all the way here, toes over our nose soon. And if we stay tight, that's all right too. Our opposite leg, the one that went out, it may want to come out on the diagonal. That's all right. But if possible, we're going to try to keep everything at hip distance and long. When you're ready, rebending your leg. That's such a nice place to be. So spend as much time there as you can. And then sometimes it's hard with our hands all wrapped up to get the strap off. So unwrap them when you're ready. Both knees rebend, feet come flat. Take as much time as you need to switch sides. When you're ready, your left foot comes in. We want a flat strap on the bottom of your foot. Extending towards the sky. Seeing how we feel in our right leg. If we feel like we could go a little further, let's send that leg out. Everything feels all right, and we want to get ourselves wrapped all back up so that we can relax our arms. Because if our upper body's relaxed, we're going to get even heavier into the lower body. So wherever your hands feel really stuck and connected and in that strap, so that you can just go, and release the arms down. Everything just kind of hangs. Flexing toes towards nose, left heel to sky, pressing heel to ceiling, pulling knee high into thighs. Let's start to sweep our left leg a little in, only if it started to fly out to the side. We want to just bring that back in so everything is in line with our midline here. And then asking ourselves, where can we soften? We've got all this lengthening happening, activity and energy in the back of our left legs. Is there somewhere equally important that we can let go? Facial muscles, toes. And then at the end, if that felt really good, we're going to rebend our leg. And we always have the option, if we can't get the strap up and off, just to kind of let it go and pull it off. Rebend both knees. And if we're feeling really good and we want to go for it, both knees come in. We have to get it somehow over the bottoms of both feet. So it's nice when you have a partner with you and they can help you get it over your feet. You don't have to work so hard and you get all the wonderful benefits. So for this one, same thing. Flex toes. Doesn't matter how high we go. Toes towards nose. All that matters is that we're feeling length. And then your arms, they want to relax. So bring them down, wrap them up. Let your arms, your elbows, your shoulders, everything be really heavy. And if it feels like it's too easy, reflex the feet, pull a little more on the hands. We definitely want to feel the sensation all through the back of our legs. So if we got lazy with it and it didn't feel so long anymore, let's revisit our pull our breath, our foot flex. Taking one more big breath in. And on our exhalation, rebending knees, we can just let that fall off to the side. Unclench your hands, just give yourself room so that you can roll over to any side that feels best for you. Typically, if you ever get into the studio, you're gonna hear people say, roll over onto your right side. So that's fine, but if another side is speaking to you and that left side wants a little extra hug against the floor, come on to your left side. Bring your pillow, your blanket, your block, or your bottom arm underneath. Just pausing for a second. Your fetal position is the death of your physical practice and the rebirth of your mental and emotional practice. Asking ourselves now how we can take the lessons we learned of grace and ease, strength, stability, balance, and mobility off into the world. It's as easy as being mindful of the steps we take and how we move our bodies in space. When you feel really good and ready, top hand pushes to the earth. It rises you up to the sky. And then any seated position you want, or you're welcome also to just turn. So today we turned, we tucked our toes and we rolled to standing. But in our first class together, we had a little seat for a minute, and I just want to share this with you because it's my favorite. My favorite little affirmation, mantra, if you will, whatever you want to call it, is peace begins with me. So I like to close my eyes and just be really soft in my body, taking a moment to be grateful for the physical practice, but then really internalizing this mantra, this affirmation on my inhalation, and then exhaling and sending it out into the world. Peace begins with me. And it's important as we sit here to always think about our low back, that natural curve of the low back. So if it feels like it started to push out, we have the option of seating our hips higher than our knees to encourage that natural curve. Shoulders would move back over the hips. Our chin tucks to lengthen up the back of our neck is a really beautiful way to sit with our posture. And then we're so mindful of the way we get off the floor, just as we were when we came down. This is how we finish today. And I'll end up moving out of your picture most likely, but we tucked our toes and we rolled up one tiny vertebrae at a time. This is the hard part, getting up here. And then just kind of move your body like it's a ladder. Hands on one rung and then on the next rung, the next rung. I'm just going to move back as you rise. Next rung. And when we get up to the top, our chin is still tucked, but we rise all the way to the sky. And then the best way to end, in my opinion, is a big breath in, like you're scooping in all the goodness that you breathed in today, all the changes we made into our bodies, and then release all the way down. Well done. I can't wait to see you again in 2 Wednesdays.